The mysterious arrival. The vastness of space stretched endlessly around the Hyperion, a sleek human ship that had been traveling for what felt like days without interruption. The stars were scattered like diamonds in the inky blackness, casting a faint glow that illuminated the ship's hull. Inside, however, it was anything but quiet. The hum of the engines was barely noticeable now, their usual power reduced to a soft purr. The crew on board was not expecting anything to disturb the calm, but a sudden jolt rattled the ship, sending a ripple of tension through the air. Captain Elias Stone, a seasoned veteran of countless deep space missions, stood at the helm of the bridge, his fingers tapping gently on the control panel. His sharp eyes scanned the endless expanse of stars ahead. The faint shimmer of distant planets twinkled in the distance, but Elias knew better than to let appearances fool him. This far out in the galaxy, things were rarely as peaceful as they seemed. Suddenly, an alert beeped from the communications console, pulling Elias from his thoughts. His heart skipped a beat as the message flashed across the screen. Unidentified object detected. Trajectory unknown. Immediate action required. Without hesitation, Elias barked orders to his crew. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. I want eyes on that object now. The crew worked quickly, efficiently, as they'd been trained to do. The ship's scanners flared to life, and soon a strange shape appeared on the screen. It was a massive ship, far larger than the Hyperion, drifting in space, seemingly abandoned. Its hull was covered in strange markings, symbols none of the crew could recognize. The color of the ship was a muted gray, almost blending into the darkness around it. The ship's size alone was enough to raise the hairs on the back of Elias's neck. "Captain, we're picking up faint signals from the object," Lieutenant Taylor said, her voice filled with both curiosity and caution. "It's almost like a distress call, but the signal is corrupted. We can't get a clear read." Elias stepped closer to the screen, his brow furrowed. "That's no ordinary ship," he muttered to himself. "Set a course to investigate, but keep weapons primed. We don't know what we're dealing with here." As the Hyperion approached the unidentified ship, the crew couldn't shake the eerie feeling that clung to them. There was something unsettling about the derelict vessel, something that made their instincts scream caution. The Hyperion slowly maneuvered into position next to the strange ship, and Elias gave the order to dock. The ship's airlock opened with a soft hiss, and the team readied their gear. Inside the Hyperion's docking bay, the crew was ready for anything. They wore protective suits, as standard protocol when boarding unknown vessels, but there was a nervous energy in the air. The door to the docking bay slid open, revealing the entrance to the unknown ship. It was cold inside, the atmosphere heavy with the absence of life. A strange metallic scent lingered, making the air feel even more sterile and foreboding. "Stay sharp," Elias ordered, his voice a low growl. The crew nodded silently, their eyes alert as they moved forward. Their boots clanged on the metal floor as they stepped into the dimly lit corridor of the alien ship. The walls were sleek, but aged, covered with rust and strange organic-looking growths that no one could identify. The dim lighting flickered, casting shadows across their path. The first thing that hit them as they ventured deeper into the ship was the silence. The air was thick with a sense of abandonment. There were no signs of life, no flicker of movement. It was as though this vessel had been adrift for centuries. And yet there was something undeniably human about it. Despite the eerie silence, Elias could feel something gnawing at the back of his mind. He wasn't sure if it was the ship's unnatural stillness or the fact that the crew had come this far into the unknown, but the weight of the moment was heavy on him. "Captain," Lieutenant Taylor's voice broke the silence, "I'm getting a strange reading on my scanner. It's coming from a chamber up ahead." Elias gestured for the crew to follow. They moved cautiously, their steps echoing down the hallway. As they approached the chamber, the door opened on its own, revealing a large, circular room. In the center of the room lay a control panel, surrounded by a series of glowing lights and strange symbols. There was a low hum in the air, as if the room itself was alive. The air felt charged, and the crew instinctively stepped back, their bodies tense. "This doesn't feel right," Elias muttered under his breath, but his curiosity got the better of him. He moved toward the control panel and studied the strange markings. It didn't look like any language he recognized, but there was a pattern to it. A sequence of numbers flashed across the screen, interspersed with bursts of alien symbols that made his head spin. "Is this some sort of alien technology?" asked Surgeon Maya, one of the crew members who had experience with extraterrestrial artifacts. She seemed fascinated, but Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of something much bigger than they realized. Before anyone could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed down the hall. The team froze, their eyes narrowing as they turned in unison. The door to the chamber slid open, revealing a figure standing in the doorway. It was a woman, human in appearance, but dressed in a strange metallic suit that seemed to shimmer with an iridescent glow. Her skin was an odd shade of pale blue, and her eyes glowed softly, like the stars themselves. She didn't say a word as she stepped forward, but her presence was commanding. The crew felt a sense of awe mixed with uncertainty. Who was she? How did she get here? Was she connected to the strange ship they had boarded? The woman spoke finally, her voice low but clear. "You shouldn't have come here," she said, her tone almost regretful. "You've awakened something that was meant to stay dormant." The crew exchanged confused glances, unsure of what to make of the stranger's warning. Elias stepped forward, his voice firm. "Who are you? What is this place?" The woman hesitated before replying. "I am Ilara," she said softly, "and this ship is not what you think it is." Elias felt a chill run down his spine. He had the feeling they had just stumbled onto something much more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. Unveiling the past. The silence in the chamber felt suffocating as Ilara's words lingered in the air. The crew stood frozen, eyes wide, trying to process the cryptic warning she had given them. Elias Stone was the first to break the stillness, his instincts kicking in as he took a step closer to the mysterious woman, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "Why did you say we shouldn't have come here? What is this place?" Elias asked, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. His hand instinctively hovered near his sidearm, but he kept it in its holster, waiting for a clear answer before making any hasty decisions. Ilara's glowing eyes shifted toward the alien control panel, her expression darkening. "This ship is not just a vessel," she replied, her voice echoing in the chamber. "It is a prison that holds a power far beyond your understanding, something that should never have been disturbed. And you have awakened it." The crew exchanged uneasy glances, confusion and dread settling over them like a heavy fog. A prison? What kind of prison could be contained in a ship so vast, so advanced? Elias had seen his fair share of alien artifacts and mysterious technology, but nothing had ever struck him with such foreboding. "We need to know everything," Elias pressed, his tone insistent. "What are we dealing with here? Who built this ship, and why is it so important?" Ilara hesitated, her glowing eyes drifting toward the far wall of the chamber. She appeared to be struggling with an internal conflict, torn between revealing the truth and protecting the crew from the dangerous knowledge hidden within the ship's depths. After a long pause, she finally spoke again, her voice tinged with a sadness that echoed in her words. "The ship was built by the Eldari, an ancient race long gone. They were creators of unimaginable technology, but they also wielded immense power. They discovered a force, an energy, that could bend the fabric of reality itself. But in their arrogance, they unleashed something that they could not control. The energy, it consumed them, turning them into something monstrous, something beyond the comprehension of any species that has ever existed." She paused, her gaze locked onto Elias. This ship was their prison, designed to contain the destructive force they had created. And now, it's awake again. You've unknowingly triggered its power. The crew was silent as they processed her words. It was difficult to imagine the enormity of the situation. An entire race destroyed by their own creation, leaving behind a vessel that had been holding something that could alter the course of the universe. Elias's mind raced, trying to comprehend how a ship like this could be hiding such an immense threat. What kind of power are we talking about? Maya asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and disbelief. Is it some kind of weapon? Ilara turned to face her, her eyes narrowing. It's worse than any weapon. The energy contained within this ship is alive, sentient. It feeds on fear, on conflict, on the desires of those who come near it. And now that it has been awakened, it will not stop until it is free to consume everything in its path. A cold shiver ran down Elias's spine. A sentient force, capable of destroying entire civilizations. It sounded like something out of a nightmare, but Ilara's unwavering conviction made it impossible to dismiss. We can't let it out, Elias said, his voice firm. What do we need to do to stop it? Ilara looked down at her hands, her expression one of quiet despair. I've tried to stop it before, she said softly, almost to herself. I've been here for centuries, trying to keep the ship dormant. But now, I fear it's too late. The energy inside has grown stronger with each passing year. It's a force beyond control, beyond reason. The tension in the air grew thicker as the crew absorbed her words. Elias could see the weight of the situation sinking in. They were not just dealing with an alien ship. They were dealing with an ancient, uncontrollable force that could reshape the very fabric of reality. We can't just leave, Elias said, his resolve hardening. We came here to help, and now we're part of this. If this thing escapes, it won't stop at this ship. It will spread. We have to find a way to contain it. Ilara looked at him, her eyes filled with both admiration and sadness. You don't understand, she said softly. This power is not something that can be contained. It is as old as the universe itself. The Eldari tried to contain it, but they failed. Now, it will take everything you have to even slow it down. Elias clenched his fists, the determination in his eyes never wavering. We're not going to give up. We'll figure this out. We're humans. We don't quit. Ilara studied him for a moment before nodding slowly. Perhaps you are right, she said, her voice tinged with a hint of hope. Maybe you can do what the Eldari could not, but you must understand, the ship's systems are intertwined with the energy. Every time you try to interfere, it will fight back. It will try to take control of your minds, manipulate your fears. You must stay focused, or you will lose yourselves. The crew exchanged nervous glances. They had faced danger before, but nothing like this. The idea that an energy could manipulate their minds, feed on their fear, this was a new kind of threat, one they had never even dreamed of encountering. But Elias wasn't about to back down. His crew trusted him, and he couldn't afford to let them down now. All right, he said, turning to his crew. We stick together. We figure out how to stop this thing. Ilara, we'll need your help. We don't know anything about the inner workings of this ship or how to navigate its systems. If you're willing to guide us, we'll do everything we can. Ilara looked at him, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her face before she nodded. I will help you, she said. But be warned, it won't be easy. You may have to face things you've never imagined. The ship will fight you every step of the way. With that, the crew prepared to venture deeper into the bowels of the alien ship. The path ahead was uncertain, and danger loomed at every corner. But Elias's mind was clear. They had to stop the energy from escaping, no matter the cost. As the crew moved forward, they could feel the weight of the ship pressing in around them, and the eerie hum of the alien technology seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Whatever lay ahead, Elias knew they would need every ounce of ingenuity and strength to survive. They had to outsmart a force that had been alive for millennia. It wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to face whatever came next. The dark heart of the ship. The corridors of the alien ship seemed to stretch endlessly before them as the crew, now accompanied by Ilara, ventured deeper into the heart of the mysterious vessel. The once sleek and pristine walls were now covered in patches of rust and corrosion, and the low, pulsing hum from the ship's systems echoed through the hallways. It was a sound that felt almost alive, unsettling and constant, like the heartbeat of a creature from the depths of space. Each step they took seemed to pull them deeper into the ship's twisted, dark core, where nothing was as it seemed. As they moved, Elias felt a growing sense of unease. The oppressive silence of the ship was beginning to weigh on him, and every shadow seemed to hide something just out of sight. The walls themselves seemed to close in around them, pushing them further into the unknown. It wasn't just the ship's alien architecture that unnerved him. It was the strange energy that seemed to pulse through the very air, as if the ship itself was aware of their presence. Ilara led the way, her glowing eyes scanning the passageways with a practiced eye. "The deeper we go, the harder it will be to keep control," she warned, her voice soft but filled with a quiet urgency. "The ship will begin to fight back soon. The energy inside it feeds on emotions, on fear. It will try to break us down, piece by piece." Elias nodded grimly. He had heard of such phenomena before, but experiencing it firsthand was an entirely different matter. The crew had faced dangerous situations, fought off hostile alien species, and even survived extreme conditions, but nothing had prepared them for this. A sentient force, manipulating their minds, feeding off their deepest fears. It was a challenge like no other. They reached a large central chamber, its walls lined with intricate designs and symbols that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly glow. The air in the room was thick with an electric charge, as though every particle in the space was vibrating with energy. A massive alien structure stood at the center, its form both beautiful and terrifying. It was a shimmering, crystal-like formation that seemed to flicker in and out of reality itself. "This is the core," Ilara said, her voice reverberating in the stillness of the room. "The heart of the ship where the energy is contained. But it is not just a containment field. It is a doorway, one that leads to the energy's true form. The Eldari created it to trap the power, but they never fully understood what they were dealing with." Elias stepped closer, his eyes fixed on the glowing structure. The closer he got, the more he felt the weight of something ancient pressing against his mind, like a dark presence trying to force its way into his thoughts. The energy was alive. He could feel it, swirling just beneath the surface of his consciousness. It was as though it was watching him, studying him, waiting for the right moment to strike. "How do we stop it?" Maya asked, her voice trembling slightly as she stepped forward, her eyes darting nervously around the chamber. Ilara hesitated before answering. "We can't just shut it down. The core is connected to the ship's systems in ways that are beyond anything your species has encountered. The Eldari believed that they could contain the energy by embedding it into the heart of the ship, but what they didn't realize was that the energy began to adapt. Over time, it became more than just a force. It became something sentient, something intelligent. And now, it has learned how to manipulate the ship's systems. The longer we stay here, the harder it will be to keep it under control." Elias's mind raced. The situation was far worse than he had imagined. A sentient energy, manipulating the ship's systems, feeding on their fears. This was more than just a technical problem. This was a fight for survival against an ancient force that had the power to unravel everything they knew. "We need to get to the central control room," Elias said, determination hardening in his voice. "That's where we'll find the systems that can help us fight back. But we have to move quickly before this thing grows too powerful." Ilara shook her head. "You don't understand. The control room is not a safe place. The ship's systems are linked directly to the energy inside. It's watching you right now, studying you, waiting for the moment when your fear overwhelms you. Once that happens, it will take control. You'll be its puppets." Elias clenched his fists, frustration and fear rising within him. They had no choice. They had come too far, and they couldn't turn back now. The lives of the entire crew, and possibly the fate of their civilization, depended on them. If they didn't act, this ancient force would escape and wreak havoc on everything they knew. "We'll deal with it," Elias said, his voice unwavering. "We've faced worse than this, and we're not about to let some ancient energy defeat us now." With Ilara reluctantly leading the way, they pressed forward, deeper into the heart of the ship. The corridors grew darker, the air thicker with the electric charge of the energy that pulsed through the walls. The temperature seemed to drop, and the crew's breaths began to form in the cold, unnatural air. The hum of the ship's systems grew louder, more insistent, as if the ship itself was trying to warn them away. As they reached the central control room, Elias felt his pulse quicken. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a vast chamber filled with strange alien technology. The walls were covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change with every step they took. At the far end of the room stood a large console, its surface glowing with the same eerie light that pulsed through the ship. But it wasn't the console that held Elias's attention. It was the figure standing in front of it. An alien, unlike any he had ever seen. Tall, with skin that shimmered like silver, its features were sharp, almost angular. It had no eyes, no mouth, just smooth, featureless skin. Yet Elias could feel its gaze, an unblinking stare that seemed to pierce through him. Before anyone could react, the alien spoke, its voice a low, distorted whisper that seemed to vibrate in the very air around them. "You are too late," it said, its voice echoing in their minds. "The energy is already free. It cannot be contained. It will consume you all." A wave of panic swept over the crew, but Elias fought it back. He couldn't let the alien's words take hold. He had to focus, had to stay in control. "We'll see about that," Elias said through gritted teeth, stepping forward.